Hi guys, Jared here at Day Traders FX. I hope you had a great, fantastic weekend, and I hope you're all excited to get back to the market. I sure am. I just want to do a quick video to give a few setups and ideas that I think will be interesting going into tonight, the UK and European Open, and into the US Open tomorrow. As always, we do not have a live session for the US Open on Mondays. We just don't trade Mondays. So here's a few ideas on things that I think will look interesting. First off, we have a pretty good week of news. There's really nothing of any significance happening on Monday. Another good reason not to do a session on Monday. So nothing too much there. But going into Tuesday, we have CPI for the UK, German ZU for the Euro, retail sales for the US and New Zealand. Wednesday we have some employment numbers from the UK and some interest rate votes, all big deals. PPI for the US, good stuff. Going into Thursday we have retail sales for the UK, which is a big deal. We have the core CPI for the US, also a big deal, along with the Philly Fed index and so on. And then going into Friday, some manufacturing sales, housing starts, University of Michigan's consumer sentiment. Some big news going into this coming week, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. As far as some setups go, we have a pending order currently sitting on the euro dollar, and I mean it's far enough away now. It's actually nearly 100 pips away, if not a little bit more than 100 pips away. I think we are a little bit more than 100 pips away. About 110 pips away, so we'll leave that pending order just as it is for the moment. But you can see that the euro dollar has come up to this kind of little double top area, which is basically 13400. Our high here is 13400, and then the second leg of this is about 133.90, so about 10 pips lower. Little short-term double top, and then it's just trickled down and away. One thing that it did do, which was pretty important, is it took out this missed daily pivot from Thursday. So it just barely tapped that, and it may be headed back up again. So it'll be worth keeping an eye on. We still do have a missed weekly pivot from way back here on this euro dollar, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on. That's a whopping 200 pips away, and that needs to be, dealt with sooner than later. We've definitely come into the resistance of this upper area. Remember, we had our little descending channel here on this weekly chart, and we've started to fail and fall off of that. And so now it's going to be keeping kind of a close eye on this ascending wedge, and we're kind of bouncing around up and down and off of it. We'll just see what happens here. But remember, we've got missed pivots down there, weekly and daily pivots. Those are all going to be good targets to keep an eye on. But for the moment, we're not going to do anything on the euro dollar except for wait for it to head back up and hopefully get us into a sell order up here somewhere above 13400. You can see that there's going to be just a little last minute note here. You can see that there's going to be some pretty decent support. We've had a good little level here at about 13300. That's right about 13300 on the dot. We're just a little bit off of that. That's also this ascending wedge, and that's a good round number, and you can see that we've tested that area several times. So I'm going to keep an eye on 13300. The 200 moving average as well on the 1 hour charts right there might be a good area for this to bounce and continue back up. So that'll just be something to keep an eye on. But again, I'm not going to be trading anything euro dollar, for the moment until we get back above 13400. But this is a little something to watch for those that may have open trades or are looking to do something with the euro dollar right now. That should be some pretty good support right around that 13300 area. Okay, pound dollar has got a pretty interesting little setup here. Remember, we had this nice bullish flag right here on the pound dollar. It broke, went up, and then it just kind of trickled and came back down, and all of that basic stuff. As the pound dollar bumped and moved around like that, what we saw happen was a nice little level of support was created here around 154.80, 85 area. So it's about 82 on the lows here. Then we've seen these lows right here at about 85, almost 90. So this is going to be a good little area to watch, and I think if we get a break of this, we could see a nice little move down of about 30 to 35 pips into that missed weekly pivot, and then potentially 70 pips into this missed daily pivot. So remember, this weekly pivot right here is about 154.50, good little round number, and the daily pivot's just sitting above 15400, so about 154.10, 11. So I'm definitely looking for the pound dollar to come down and take these two levels out. I think they're very, very good little levels, and whoops. And our arrow that we put here still does apply to this whole, if I can get it to move, there we go. Still applies to this whole setup right here. So again, we get below about 154.80, and I think we've got a nice shot at 154.50 and 154.10. So good little areas to keep an eye on. Not necessarily looking for any major opportunities to short, or excuse me, to buy the pound dollar. I think shorting is going to be our better option for right now. And to top all of that off, you can see that the 23% fib is also that same area that we're watching right here, this 154.80-ish area. So we start getting below that, and our 38% fib is down here around 154.30, which again would get us a little past that weekly pivot, not all the way to the daily pivot. So a good little middle area. So there's good pips to be had below 154.80. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that, on this pound dollar. It's just running up this channel nicely. It's coming off that top very well, and looks like it should come back down into some of those lower areas. We'll see how that goes. The Aussie dollar has done something pretty interesting. It's really rallied like crazy, especially the last day of the week. We had some nice little runs up, and then Friday rolled around, and the thing just shot up another 100 pips. So good little move on the Aussie dollar. We're starting to see a little bit of topping out, very short term potentially, but nonetheless it's kind of topping out, double top right up here. And this is kind of at that 92.15-ish or so area. We have a nice missed weekly pivot all the way down here at about 91.05. That's a good, that's a good 100 pips from current market price. We've also got a missed daily pivot down here around 90.70. And of course we've got our missed daily pivot from last week, which is all the way down here at 8,900. So I'm going to be looking for this Aussie dollar to start really slowing and start really turning back down. We're getting our working our way into the top of this channel here. This is a pretty well-established channel, and if we test those highs once again, which the Aussie dollar has failed off of just about every single time, which is right around 92.50 to 9300 in that general area, we start to find a lot of resistance, and that could bring this Aussie dollar back down into the missed daily and weekly pivots that we have from last week and the missed weekly pivot from this week. So keep an eye on that little run towards that missed weekly pivot there. Aussie yen is also getting kind of interesting. We've seen a good little breakout on this Aussie yen. It's run up to the 38% fib. Could be headed up to that 50, as we've talked about many times. Most of the time, if it makes it to the 38, it'll make it to the 50. And the 50 is another potentially 80 pips or so of movement there. So we'll see how that one goes. We have a missed weekly pivot once again here at about 87.85, and then just below that we have a missed daily pivot from Friday at about 87.70. So good little areas to kind of start attracting the downward movement, and so let's be prepared for that, and let's be watching for some runs down there. As far as Euro Yen goes, nothing too much on this one for me. I'm not super interested. This channel's coming down pretty nicely. We'll see how that goes. There's just nothing too interesting. I mean, the only thing we have is a missed weekly pivot here, and we do have a missed daily pivot, which is up here a little bit, 129.85. But for the most part, I think we're kind of looking at this as a potential sell area, but maybe a little bit above 12900. But so far it's not super interesting. Between the Euro Yen and the Pound Yen's also not really giving us too much. You can see on the daily chart it's totally sideways for a couple of months now. On the weekly chart, though, we do have a little bit of a better look. It's kind of been bouncing around this channel. It's towards the bottom of the channel, some support there. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, nothing too interesting there. But I do think Euro dollar could give us something good. We'll keep an eye on that. Pound dollar specifically, we're looking for the break of that 23% fib and that 154.80 area. Aussie dollar, we're going to watch for a run down to that missed weekly pivot and daily pivot. Aussie yen, potentially a run down to the missed weekly and daily pivot as well. Euro yen, pound yen sitting on the sidelines. Good luck, guys. I'll see you in the chat. I'll be checking in and out over the next little bit, and we'll see how things go. Thanks a bunch, everyone, and good luck.